I'm getting hungry now.
Dude, we do the ads for the food, and like
Yeah.
it's 7 p.m. and I have not eaten dinner. I am grumpy now.
Welp, welp. Um, I know what'll make you hungry.
What's
Let,
that?
let's talk about Mortal Kombat 1.
Dude, okay. I ranted and raved and hated on MK1 last week or the week before.
Yep.
Time for me to say something nice. Having 4 down inputs do your taunt in Mortal Kombat because NetherRealm games have an insane teabagging problem is inspired. It is genuinely
Automatically,
inspired.
we have
That's how you
interpreted.
taunt in
We have
MK1. You hit down 4 times.
we have interpreted your teabagging and are using the translation system to convert that into your gesture.
Wait, well, so that's the actual taunt command is
That is,
four
yeah,
downs.
yeah.
Wild,
Oh,
wild.
okay.
There's a couple things. So the gameplay reveal came out for MK1, and all the stuff aside, there's a couple things going on that the main thing I was interested in was like mechanics, gameplay wise, like what are they changing, what are they going for, and some decisions are kind of wild, right? So have you heard about the up block? There's
Yeah.
there's apparently so Mortal Kombat block button, right? We all know. The
Yeah.
the the in the game now there's something called an up block, and essentially because jump-ins were always so strong, you can now while holding block press up, and for a brief second your character switches from blocking Mortal Kombat style to aiming it straight upwards, and it has a recovery on it, so if you whiff you're super punishable and get blown up. But if you counter something that is specifically a jump in, you will it'll almost act like a parry in that you recover right away while they land, and you can do a full punish on them. So you still have normal blocking, and there's still like faultless defense practically as well. Well, not faultless defense, instant blocking.
Fuck. That'd be a very different game.
Yeah, not FD, not FD. But now instant blocking is just it just negates chip damage, I think is the difference. But yeah, up block is like a specific like committal call out, which means then someone jumping in on you might be doing an empty jump, at which point they get a full get a hard read into a full punish. But this is still Mortal Kombat where everyone has down two, so it is what it is. Interesting decision on that. We were talking about chip damage and how that gets treated earlier. So what MK1 is doing with chip is kind of wild. You cannot die from chip as long as you have super meter. So if you have a fatal blow and you're on the magic pixel, it depletes from your fatal blow instead. And then when you use it, then you die.
So as you're being chipped out, they're taking your fucking bar?
It takes away from your so what you like basically you'll have you try to use it as your comeback at a certain point, fatal blow into fatal blow, and then once you've both spent it or whatever, then you can be chipped out. But as long as you have fatal blow ready to go, you can't be chipped to death. It's a commitment to spending it or just choosing to hold on to it. A little bit reminiscent of combo and KI where you could spend the super to get last breath. But in this case, it's just like, you can choose to not be chipped out if you feel like not cashing that damage out either.
Yeah, it kind of seems like it's a mechanic to kind of make that moment pretty tense. You basically are in a position where you have a comeback potential with the meter, and at the same time, you can't get chipped out, right? So it's kind of that moment where if somebody's within one hit or one combo of dying with the meter, then it increases the chances of those comebacks happening.
Yes,
If I understand this correctly.
Yeah, my interpretation of it was essentially like the fight will have to be a close one because you've both spent that meter, and now it can be chipped out. But if you haven't spent it yet, we don't want you dying just yet. We want you to get an opportunity to spend it, and If it doesn't kill them, now you're in that tense situation. So it's trying to create more tense rounds.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
yeah, it is interesting. Also the block up. Is there a name for this block up?
It's
Up block.
up
Like parry?
block.
Up block.
Up
Okay, so
block.
it's kind of
Yeah.
like a parry for jump ins, and I guess it's to kind of make people think not twice but three times about jumping in.
Yeah.
But then you can bait that by jumping in, empty jumping.
Yeah.
And what's kind of that kind of made me think of so I was playing some matches on Sunday. I play Honda, and I have a friend. Some of you guys might know him. He goes by Burnout Fighter. He's
Oh yeah, yeah,
resident
yeah.
Dolphin player. Yeah,
With the Karen logo.
and he's really good at parrying. He's really good at the game in general. And I realized like jumping in, it kind of made me feel like I was playing the third strike meta game a little bit, where you jump in and then if
Empty.
you're always jumping in and attacking, then and you get parried, they can counter with like a fierce or whatever. And so then the answer to that is to do an empty jump and throw or something else, right? And so I feel like that's kind of where their thought process was in Mortal Kombat. But yeah, I mean, I guess depending on how much of a punish you can get when they whiff that the up block, yeah, it's kind of it's interesting because in Street Fighter it's kind of like it's not a block game, right? So Mortal Kombat doing this is kind of like a block game's interpretation, right?
Yeah.
But by the way, block as a button to block game is a very big divisive, I think, characteristic in fighting games. The stuff that I'm working on right now is there's a section about a button to block because it does change the game a lot. And I know there's some people who are like, ew, button to block, I'm not going to touch that game. And some people really like it. So that's that's really interesting.
It is a very, so it's like if you've picked your bed and you're gonna sleep in it, which is we have a block button no matter what, then okay, what can we do with this, right? There's that. There's certainly the way that crouching works with fireballs in those games, where like a fireball can go right over your head if you're not blocking. But if you are blocking and crouching, then it'll hit, So like there's a little bit of awareness you can have too, to being like, I want to just crouch and let that go over my head and then get back up and move forward. That is interesting about it.
Maybe I'm just a massive cynical prick. Possible. But like up block seems cool, but there's part of me in my chest that goes like, NetherRealm games have some of the most vicious, disgusting zoner nonsense ever. And the idea of giving like a free pass to like another way for those characters to punish jump-ins just seems really vindictive.
Well, so the perspective that you probably haven't heard there, though, is that like the state those games kind of were in, like 10 and 11 particularly, was one where jump-ins were very, very fast and very good, It was a response to the fact that those jumping in a lot of cases was a great option compared to other situations, There's also something going on with the game as well, where like there's no run button or anything like that. Like you're kind of dashing in with intention, but they made walking really, really quick. So they made it so that like effectively like walk speed is faster than it's ever been, and they kind of want that to like close the distance as your main method of imposing space is literally just holding forward, So yeah, we're seeing that as well. And then I think the part of the game that I'm the most curious about is like, okay, so you didn't do a team-based fighter. This isn't Mortal Kombat Tag or even Marvel 3 Mortal Kombat in terms of 3v3 or so. But the cameo system is showing up in a lot of places besides just having them jump out and do the move. Your throw becomes affected by the cameo. So you have three throws. You have a forward or back throw where your cameo comes out and does the action actually, and depending on who they are, the throw changes. Its properties and such, or if the cameo is unavailable because they're on cooldown, you have I think it's just like a grab and push, kind of like a Tekken style, shove, which then leaves you open to eating a button or something to that effect. So, like, there's a little bit of a play they're having where cameos work their way into the basics of throwing even. And they also, you can hit cameos and they take damage from your main life bar.
That's nice.
Yeah, so it's
kind of like a happy anniversary instead of a happy
sure,
birthday.
yeah, I guess. Like when you hit Chip, Gamma Blade, right? Like it's a bit like that. Everybody fucking loses. So this cameo thing, I mean, I think it still would have been real cool to go all the way in with the team based fight, but they're going pretty intense with the cameos, and I think because of that, we're able to see some of the combos now look like Marvel combos. Actually, you're seeing like a regular extended string go into like a Sonya air aerial cover projectile, or like relaunches from the them coming out, and then essentially serving the same purpose that you would see like an OTG assist in Marvel would jump back out, pop them back up, and you would continue your combo. You're seeing the cameos being used in that way as well, so at the very least, it's embracing the hyperness of what it's like when you have multiple people out on the screen.
I think it's kind of a way to, you get kind of the benefits of team battle games, but without committing so much that it becomes that, and you have to learn two characters and a ton of different setups, and the way they managed to put it in the throw game is interesting. Yeah.
I will say that it is a smart way to like massively increase the roster of characters that are technically appearing without having to actually make a massive roster of characters. And it also kind of gives them like a free pass where, let's say Noob Saibot's in the game, but he's not actually a character, he's just a cameo. And people just don't shut the fuck up about him. Like, okay, well, we know who to go for the next season rolling around.
Every one of those goofy Armageddon rejects can show up as a cameo because it's just a cameo, and they don't need to be playable. They just have to be in there, and then your cameos do fatalities for you, right? Like
I don't want mocap playable, man, but he can be there.
But yeah, the way it's affecting gameplay is making it's the most hyper Mortal Kombat has ever been, right? So, we'll see interesting things as it kind of comes out as well. There was also a note about how there's combo breakers. You can do breakers, but now it costs your full cameo bar plus all your meter, so it costs you everything if you want to get out of dodge. Anyway. Yeah,
hell of a burst.
Expensive. The most expensive burst in fighting games. Yeah, everything,
Yeah. Is it punishable if they bait it, or
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. If it's just works, then I guess that would be.
Could you imagine, though?
It's so expensive. I mean, you spend all that, and then you get punished, and then you lose. You're just like, wait, now I have nothing.
And I shouldn't even be pressing buttons. It would have been better to just take my hands off the goddamn controller.
Right? If your cameo was like a get off me kind of Captain Commando thing, and now that's gone too. Like, you just gotta hold it, right?